What's going on YouTube? This is Jim Fanis, and today I want to talk to you guys about my first impressions of this game right here, Sunset Overdrive. Now, Sunset Overdrive is an interesting game. I first saw it at E3 a couple years ago, and it is basically a parody of just about every other game. When the first time we saw the trailer, it looks like it's this war scene where this guy's backed into a corner, and then out of nowhere comes the hero of Sunset Overdrive carrying a crowbar, shooting enemies, and when they explode, they spell out like boom or pop. And didn't know what this game was about. Fast forward now a few years, and here we have it. It's been out for quite some time. As you guys know, I am a late adopter to the Xbox One console, and when Best Buy has a buy two get one free or any kind of crazy deals, I always jump on it, and that was how I picked up Sunset Overdrive. Now, I'm not going to bore you guys with what the game's about. You guys know about it. What I want to tell you guys is my impressions, because I think that this game can only be played with this bad boy right here. That's right, this is my new bestest friend in the whole wide world, the Xbox One Elite controller. Now, Sunset Overdrive is a mix of a mix of a third-person shooter and Tony Hawk. Okay, that's the best way to, and not Tony Hawk 5, not the one that was really shitty, just the good Tony Hawks back in the day. Because it is very grinding heavy, very trick heavy, and a lot of shooting, obviously. Now, running around on the ground and just aiming and shooting enemies as they come to you will not work. Your guy is incredibly squishy, and it's up to you to continue moving at high rates of speed, whether it be grinding or running or wall climbing, just crazy acrobatic type maneuvers. When you do this, you actually build up meters. The meters unlock more powerful abilities, which is what really kind of sways the combat in your favor. So far, the game has been surprisingly unpopulated. I have been doing a lot more free exploration than I have been actual game stuff, story-wise. And most of the time, there's just really not a lot out there. It doesn't seem like new enemies unlock until you unlock them in the story. So if you want to go off and explore the entire world before ever starting the story proper, you could. And you're just going to be facing the very grunt-type enemies. Obviously, as the game goes on, they introduce different enemies that have more powerful abilities. When you introduce them, they start populating the world as well. So as I've been kind of just kind of going around trying to collect different things, because that's what I like to do, I've noticed that, and it's kind of funny. Anyways, the control scheme is incredibly cumbersome, and that's where my good friend, the Elite controller, comes in handy. You see, when you are playing, you need to have pretty much the X button is your go-to button, okay? X is what gives you the ability to grind on different things, all right? And maybe it's not X. I'm feeling the controller now. Yeah, it's got to be X. You jump with A and you grind with X. And the problem is when you are grinding, you have to grind. If you press X one time, you're grinding like hanging with a hook and the rope is above you. You press X again and now you're standing on top of the rope. Then you have to press A to jump off. You do not snap to another grind. You actually have to press X when you're close again. And there are some maneuvers, such as the one I just unlocked, where if you're underneath the rope and you press X and then A very quickly, you'll do this really high jump in the air, which is good for clearing higher obstacles, getting to higher buildings, or just collecting random power-ups that are scattered throughout the world, or different kind of collectibles, whether they be a power line way up ahead with different sneakers, or the the crates laying around, or even the big floating balloons that you need to collect as well. So it's really in your best interest to be smashing that. Okay, well, while that's happening, you're required to shoot pretty regularly to kind of clear out the herd around you, and you use the right thumbstick, just like every other first-person shooter, to actually shoot. Now, you can hold down the left trigger, and it slows down time ever so slightly. However, it's not enough to compensate for the fact that your hand, if you were using a traditional controller, would be going from control stick to button, control stick to button, control stick to button. And you think about a maneuver where you want to aim, then you got to grapple with X, then you got to press A to jump to the next grapple, X to grapple again, back to aim, and you could see my right thumb is getting quite the workout. Obviously, the Xbox One Elite controller, everything is at my fingertips. I have a dedicated finger for every single button, and as a result, my mobility is increased tenfold. Now, a couple of my other friends who've played this game have mentioned to me They don't like it because they find the control scheme incredibly cumbersome. And I have to say that when this game came out, no one had this controller, obviously, because this controller launched earlier this year. But I encourage everybody who thought the game was entertaining, which I love, I'll get to that in a second, to go back and actually check it out with the Xbox One Elite controller, and I think you'll find your experience has increased tenfold. So, once you get past the monotonous controls, the gameplay actually is very, very smooth. There's a plethora of goofy-ass weapons. Your character can be as zany over the top as you want, the crazier the better. And they did a lot of really cool touches in there. There's a lot of little Easter eggs and nods to other games. One of my favorite things is when you die, actually, how you respawn into the world is very, very unique. Sometimes you kind of beam down off like an alien ship, or you'll come through the portal in the game portal. There's a lot of like tongue-in-cheek. It's very clear the character knows he's in a game, and it's very clear the game is a parody of almost itself. And it doesn't really seem that it's getting like ham-fisted in that message. It just inserted at random times, and it does kind of make you laugh. Early on, you are running towards a NPC, and he gets squished, and your character goes, "Oh, he didn't have an exclamation on his head. I guess he wasn't important." Obviously, like it wasn't a quest giver of any kind. So there's a lot of that, and but it's fun. It's zany fun. It's bright. It's colorful, and it's very unique. The draw distance seems to be pretty good with some minimal popping. The terrain is tons of fun. There's plenty of walls and buildings to kind of traverse around. One of my biggest complaints, though, is that it's hard to get going again. So when you are moving from piece to piece, the game level flows very, very well. Whether you want to grind, it seems like there's power rails just about everywhere you'd want to be. You could bounce on cars to get going. You can bounce on curbs. You can bounce on like guardrails on the side like a curb. You can actually wall run a little bit around walls and kind of bounce around that way as well. So there's a plethora of ways to get around the city. But when you get knocked off, when you miss a button, when you mispress, when you run off a cliff or something like that, it takes a very long time to get back into that system, and it does kind of feel punishing to the player, and that's something I'm not a particular big fan of. The other thing that I think they really dropped the ball on is just the fact that you should be able to free climb just to kind of set up some of these crazy jumps. There are so many times that all I'm doing is is grinding back and forth if I'm trying to time a jump onto a building, where it'd be so much easier to just walk up to a building and just climb up it. I don't know why that mechanic doesn't exist, and maybe it is unlocked later in the game. I hope so. But early on in the game, it does feel kind of punishing sometimes when you're trying to move around the city. And, for a game that is kind of grounded in this mobility and this whole grinding system, it really does suffer, in my opinion. Now, unfortunately, I went to jump on the online mode. It is completely dead. I cannot find a single game, so I don't know if it says the name of the box on here. Chaos Squad. I cannot play Chaos Squad on this game, so I think I'm the only person in the entire world that's trying to play Sunset Overdrive on Chaos Squad. I can't find a soul to play with me. So if you're interested in Chaos Squad and you need a buddy, hit me up. We could at least two-man it or something, okay? That would be a lot of fun. What was I also going to mention about this game? The art style, I think, as I mentioned before, it's super bright and vibrant. It's tons of fun. Oh, I know what it was. There's TVs inserted in the game that apparently had some sort of sunset TV. There were different kind of messages in there. That system has been completely turned off. If you actually walk up to a TV, it's a pre-recorded, obviously pre-recorded, it's not live. It's a pre-recorded message from the game developers saying that the system has been taken offline, and if you want to go on YouTube to watch a complete archive of all the in-game videos, you can, and every single TV displays that message. My question is, why was that content pulled from the game? It seems very dumb to me that you had all this content, you ported it over to YouTube, and you stripped it out of the game, yet the terminals to access these videos are still within the game. It seems like it's kind of a missed opportunity. Why not just leave the content in there? I mean, it's, if it's a pre-recorded YouTube video or if it's a pre-recorded video, just pull it down from the web and insert it. That whole message of, hey, thanks for playing, but the system's been taken offline, makes me feel like I'm late to the party on this game. And yes, I know it came out a long time ago, and I believe it was a launch title, if not very, very close to a launch title. But, don't make me feel like I'm going to regret my purchase by saying, hey, there's really cool stuff that you're never going to see or you're never going to do, but you can go find it on Wikipedia or dig around on YouTube. Come on, guys. I mean, seriously, I paid for the game. Yeah, I was a little late to the party, but come on, don't take stuff away from people. That just seems very foolish to me. Outside of those few gripes, though, the game is generally fun, and it's a great distraction for when I'm getting my ass handed to me in Halo 5. So I'm glad to have it in the rotation. It's tons of fun, but I really have to stress once again that if you are playing it with one of these, you're really doing yourself a disservice. And I got nothing against the Master Chief. I love the guy like a brother. But I'm saying that you really need these bumpers. Whether you get the Scuff controller, whether you get an Elite controller, this game is so physically demanding in terms of how many buttons you have to press. And I can't explain it any better than my wife was sitting next to me on the couch. And she's like, hey, you're pretty good at all those, you're zipping around pretty well and you're moving around. I called out every single button to her. X, A, X, A, X, A. And she's like, holy crap, are you doing that many things? I'm like, yeah. She's like, geez. And you're aiming at enemies, and you're trying to collect power-ups, and you're switching out your gear, your weapons on the fly. And I'm like, absolutely. And she's like, whew, good thing I got you that Elite controller. Now, that's a wife for you. But all kidding aside, these and these go hand in hand. I cannot say this enough. But anyways, that's my initial impressions on Sunset Overdrive. Obviously, super late to the party, but that's okay. I'll be doing a final impression when I get around to beating it, which will probably be some time away. Anyways, that's all I have for today. I want to thank you guys for watching, and until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.